Hi, my name is Emily. I am from New York, a big city with tall buildings and many people. I grew up with a loving family, and English was always around me, but there was one thing I always struggled with: remembering words. Yes, the vocabulary. I could read and speak, but sometimes the words would just disappear from my mind. Have you ever felt like that? One day in school, I was asked to give a speech. My teacher, Mr. Williams, smiled at me and said, "Emily, I know you can do it." I was scared. My heart was beating fast. What if I forgot the words? What if I couldn't remember the vocabulary? I thought I would cry. I stood in front of my class. My friends, Sarah, Lucas, and Anna, were all watching. I took a deep breath and started. But suddenly, the word courage disappeared from my mind. I froze. My cheeks turned red. Everyone was looking at me. I felt tears in my eyes. In that moment, I realized something. It wasn't just about learning the words, it was about using them, feeling them, making them part of me. English wasn't just a subject, it was my way to connect with the world. I had to understand that every word had meaning, a story behind it. Tip 1: build a relationship with words. The first thing I did was start keeping a journal. Every day, I wrote down 5 new words, not just any words, words that made me feel something: hope, dream, fear, love. I wrote them in sentences. I didn't just memorize them, I imagined them in my life. This helped me build a relationship with each word. Like when you meet a new friend, you have to spend time with them to remember their name. For example, I used to forget the word excited, so I wrote, "I am excited when I go to the park with my dog, Max," and guess what? I never forgot the word again. Tip 2: speak as much as you can. When I was young, I was shy. Speaking English felt scary. What if I said something wrong? But my mom always said, "Emily, just try. It's okay to make mistakes," and she was right. The more I spoke, the more I learned. Every time I forgot a word, I just smiled and kept going. And soon, I started remembering. One day, I was with my friend Sarah at the ice cream shop. I wanted to order, but I forgot the word vanilla. I panicked. But then Sarah laughed and said, "Just say the white one." I laughed too, and that made me feel better. After that, I never forgot vanilla again. Tip 3: connect emotion to learning. One of the best ways to remember words is to connect them with emotions. Think of a time when you were really happy or really sad. Can you remember the words you used? That's because emotions make memories stronger. I remember the word hope because of a very sad moment in my life. My grandma was in the hospital. I loved her so much, and I was afraid I would lose her. But she smiled at me and said, "Emily, Always have hope, I cried, but those words stayed in my heart. Now, I never forget the word hope. Tip 4: use stories to learn. Another way to learn vocabulary is through stories. When I was little, my dad used to read me bedtime stories. He would always pause and explain the new words to me. I learned words like brave hero and adventure from those stories. Now, I write my own short stories. When I learn a new word, I try to use it in a story. For example, when I learned the word kindness, I wrote, "There was a girl named Lily. She was very kind. One day, she saw a little bird with a broken wing. She picked up the bird and took care of it." Writing this helped me remember the word kindness forever. Tip 5: don't be afraid to make mistakes. One day in school, I had to talk in front of my class again. This time, I was more prepared. But when I got up to speak, I forgot a word again. I could feel my hands shaking. But then, I remembered my mom's words, "It's okay to make mistakes." I smiled at my classmates and said, "Sorry, I forgot the word." Let me think for a second, and you know what? No one laughed. In fact, my friend Lucas gave me a thumbs up. That made me feel better. I took a deep breath and continued. From that day, I understood that mistakes are part of learning. Tip 6: practice every day. Learning English is like building a house. You can't do it all in one day. You have to put one brick at a time. I started practicing English every day. Not for hours, just for 15 minutes. I read books, listened to music, watched TV shows, and even sang songs in English. I remember singing a song called "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." I didn't know all the words at first, but I kept singing. And soon, the words became part of me. This made me love English even more. Tip 7: surround yourself with English. One thing that really helped me was surrounding myself with English. I changed the language on my phone to English. I watched movies in English with subtitles. I even made friends who spoke English. Little by little, English became a part of my daily life. And you know what? It worked. My vocabulary improved, and I felt more confident. Tip 8: use flashcards. Flashcards are a simple but powerful tool. I made flashcards for the words I often forgot. On one side, I wrote the word, and on the other side, I wrote the meaning or a picture. Every day, I would go through my flashcards. It only took a few minutes, but it helped a lot. One time, I kept forgetting the word adventure, so I drew a picture of a mountain on my flashcard. That way, every time I saw the word, I imagined myself climbing a mountain. I never forgot it again. Tip 9: teach others what you learn. When you teach someone else, you learn better. I used to teach my younger brother, Jake, new words. He was just starting to learn English, so I helped him with his homework. By explaining words to him, I remembered them better myself. One day, Jake asked me, "What does curious mean?" I thought for a second and said, "It means you want to learn more about something, like when you ask a lot of questions." Jake smiled and said, "Oh." Like me, I laughed, and from that moment, I never forgot the word curious. Tip 10. Celebrate small wins. Learning English is a journey. It's important to celebrate the small wins. Every time I learned a new word, I felt proud. I would reward myself with something small, like a piece of chocolate or a walk in the park. One day, I had to write an essay in school. I used all the new words I had learned: brave, kindness, hope, adventure. When my teacher returned my paper, she wrote, "Well done, Emily." That made me so happy. I knew my hard work was paying off. There was a time when I was at my lowest. I was failing my English class, and I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. One night, I cried in my room. My dad came in and sat next to me. He didn't say anything at first. Then he whispered, "Emily, English is not just a language, it's a bridge to your dreams." Those words stayed with me. From that day, I decided I wouldn't give up. I would keep learning, keep trying, no matter how hard it was. Tip 11. Stay consistent. Consistency is key. Even when I felt tired or frustrated, I kept going. Some days I didn't feel like studying, but I reminded myself why I started. I wanted to be better, to grow, to connect with more people. Every day, I spent just a little time improving my English. Some days I learned one new word. Other days I reviewed old ones, but I never stopped. Tip 12. Be patient. Learning takes time. I had to learn to be patient with myself. It's okay to forget words sometimes. It's okay to make mistakes. What's important is that you keep trying. One of my favorite quotes is, "Rome wasn't built in a day." Just like that, your English won't be perfect in a day. But with time, effort, and patience, you will improve.